Rams 49ers, usually a matchup with a lot of offensive star power. George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Debo Samuel, all them. You get none of it on Sunday and you'll be happy. New Sprint Right Option podcast starts now.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners. Sprint Right Option podcast. Oh my goodness, we are live. It is a new episode of the Sprint Right Option podcast. I am Andrew Pasquini, joined as always by Jason Aponte. And Jason, we're going to start with the bad of the game. We're going to try and keep this as positive a conversation as we can. There's a lot going on with it. So I want to start with the most positive. How are you doing? Lovely Friday. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Juan Soto hurt his knee, got scratched from the lineup. That's exactly what you want to hear right before the Yankees are about to start their playoff run to a first round exit. But yeah, everything else is fine. I mean, all things considered, the 49ers land, nothing to really talk about, nothing of importance, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the big thing going on in my life is the Tribal Chief is about 3 blocks away from me right now. SmackDown is at Golden One Center right now. I'm missing it. I'm going to a musical tonight, so that'll be fun.
What's the musical?
Oh man, I should know this. I should. It's not Jersey Boys. It's another one of those. I forget what it is, man. I'm not very good with this. I apologize, but hey,
is it Jersey Boys?
It's not Jersey Boys.
That reminds me of other guys. Remember when they get bought off by the tickets? And he's like, "You're so believable." He's yelling from the crowd. He's like, "Damn it, it was a bribe."
I talked about the other guys the other day. Actually, talked about it with some friends. Very fun. It's a great movie. I need to watch it again. Remember when you guys yell at me a little bit to watch it, and I finally watched it?
Yeah.
So just a great movie, all-time movie. Jason, let's get into Niners Rams though. It's typically a fun game. I've had a hard time getting up for it. It's tough when as many players are missing time as they are. And you just look at the offensive side of the ball. Let's just get the injuries out of the way, and then we'll have some more fun talking about the.
All right. Here, can we do this instead of running down the injuries?
Yes.
Tell us who's actually playing.
Yes. So who's actually playing might be a little easier. Brock Purdy playing.
Good.
Matthew Stafford playing.
Good.
Jordan Mason playing. Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, they're all playing. Brandon Ayuk is playing as well.
This sounds good. I thought you said it was bad. Keep going. Who else is playing? Is Trent Williams playing?
Trent Williams is playing.
Trent Williams is playing. Is Talanoa Hufanga playing?
Talanoa Hufanga, actually, not sure yet. Sounds like he's trending the right direction. He didn't have an official status.
He's good. He's playing. I think.
My brain just turned off. Unspecified probably means you're playing. He doesn't have an injury status. Talanoa Hufanga playing.
Andrew, is Fred Warner playing?
Fred Warner's playing. That's
then we're fine. Exciting. I mean, I couldn't imagine who couldn't be playing for the 49ers. That would make me nervous. Is George Kittle playing?
So George Kittle's doubtful. Yeah. Debo Samuel out.
No.
Christian McCaffrey, we knew this one, out as well.
No.
But let me spin it a little more positive. Rams will be without Cooper Kupp. They will be without Puka Nacua. They'll be without 40% of their offensive line. Steve Avila, Jonah Jackson out as well. So it's really more who's not playing on Sunday for the 49ers and Rams. And I think we'll dive into we're looking forward to playing on Sunday. But let's start with who is the biggest player missing Sunday, because I think there's about 5 options in this game, Jason. I think the obvious one is Christian McCaffrey, but I think there's an argument that it's Cooper Kupp. I'm very curious to see what your take is. JKBG, Jake Brindle, will be in the game, but we're playing fast and loose with the definition of playing when it comes to him. Yeah, this is a side tangent. I've noticed that people are really ruthless to players on social media nowadays when it comes to posting film.
I'll tell you this. I don't have any takes on offensive line because I don't want Jonathan Feliciano to come kill me.
No, that's the last thing I want. John Feliciano, you want to jump on the podcast? Jump on. We'll talk offensive line.
Yeah, teach us offensive line. Yeah, I don't have offensive line takes. John Feliciano, if you're watching, just let you know, I really don't have any takes when it comes to that.
But let's teach us. I want to learn. I want to learn offensive line stuff. So John Feliciano, if you want to come yell at me for other takes, maybe we can. But let's talk offensive line. It'd be great. No, Jason, who's the player? Both sides. who's going to be missed the most missing Sunday?
I think it's got to be the offensive line for the Rams. This is going to sound crazy. Nakua and Cup are both incredible and they're a great duo. But when you have a quarterback who can make all the throws to Matthew Stafford, Tutu Atwell and Demarcus Robinson and Whittingham and the guys that they have, they don't sound like they're threatening. But when you have a quarterback who can make all the throws, he can make those guys look good. And I'm not saying that he makes Up and Nakua good. I think that's just a perfect balance of both. But it's got to be offensive line because Matthew Stafford still scares you because regardless of who the receiving core is, when you're able to make throws from all platforms, all levels of the field, different arm angles, the way that Stafford is, it's going to put you in a bind where you better make sure that you're not sleepwalking through this game because you can catch a ball behind the head, behind your head that's thrown from Stafford, like down the field, 40 yards. I think it's the offensive line because that would be the thing that would keep him upright, even though it's easy to look at Nakua and Cup and say, yeah, you would obviously need your wide receivers. Just when you have a quarterback like that, he can make other guys look real good.
Yeah, it's going to be Demarcus Robinson. It's going to be Tyler Johnson. It's going to be Tutu Atwell. It's going to be Colby Parkinson. That's going to be the guys that are going to be working with the Rams offensive line, or not working with the Rams offense. Matthew Stafford obviously playing, but yeah, I'm gonna argue it's either Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua. I'm going to take the obvious answer. We've seen what the Niners offense has looked the past couple of weeks without Christian McCaffrey. Jordan Mason's been keeping that run game afloat. But all right, Metaponte, best way to start my Friday.
No, but you know what that is? That's my new thing on Twitter. Like when I found out that Kittle missed the practice, I was like, all right, man. And like anytime I hear anytime anything goes wrong, it's just all right, man.
All
like,
right,
that's it. Yeah, that's it.
So is this person saying their Friday night's going wrong with all right?
Well, I think he's pointing to the saying that I'm trying to peddle on Twitter, which is anytime and there's any minor inconvenience with the 49ers, I just go, all right, man. All right.
No, but I got Kupp and Nacua as the two biggest missing pieces because I think this Rams offense can function with one of Cooper Kupp and Deebo Samuel, right? Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. But with both missing, I don't know. I just don't know how this Rams offense is gonna move the ball because it's not just Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua missing. It's the fact that that's majority of the Rams pass offense. Cooper Kupp has 27 targets this season. Nacua only has 4 because he missed the game last week. 27 targets through 2 games is ridiculous. Like Matthew Stafford was leaning heavily on him last week until he got hurt. But it's also mixed in with Kyren Williams, and the Rams run game has been very bad through 2 games. And I know part of it is they got blown out last week, needed to pass a lot. But their run game is just non-existent. And so if you're facing an offense without Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, I don't want to say you could fill the box against Matthew Stafford, but I don't think that Demarcus Robinson, Tyler Johnson are guys you necessarily need to be afraid of in the secondary. The Rams run offense has had 136 rush yards the past 2 games. If you can really make it where you can take away that pass game, that run defense isn't going to stop you. This game would feel totally different if it was Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp were playing, but neither are playing, and I'm not too concerned about it.
And I think you can look at it, when from name value, when you look at Demarcus Robinson, it's easy to do that. But I think the sum of everything, McVay's play calling and the way that he's be able to get guys open, and I think that it doesn't necessarily strike fear in your heart, but it's not something you can just dismiss based on name value. Like Demarcus Robinson is still somebody who could find himself open based on route concepts that McVay's called. And then when you have a guy who can make all the throws, I know it's easy to look at this game and say, well, they're not playing, never a doubt. But Sean McVay is kind of the perfect coach for these circumstances in terms of you're missing so many people. How do we cover this up? Well, you cover it up by having a quarterback who can make all the throws. You have somebody who understands how to get guys open. McVay is probably the perfect coach and the guy that I would want to least face in this predicament, like almost like a wounded animal. I think he's going to throw the kitchen sink at the 49ers.
Yeah, and that's kind of the question I had, and we're gonna go from the injuries because that's really all we got on it, right? We know Kittle's doubtful, McCaffrey, Samuel, Kupp, Nacua, Avila, Jackson, they're all missing, so a lot of offensive firepower missing. Previewing this game wasn't exactly the most fun chore, right? Looking into it just because of everybody missing. So, Jason, I came up with 2 questions that are kind of about the game on Sunday, but things surrounding that I'm very curious to get your opinion on. The first being, you mentioned Sean McVay and who he is. You also have Kyle Shanahan on the other side, a very good offensive mind as well. We all know that. The friendship between Shanahan and McVay is very well noted. Jason, is this a must win? Not for the 49ers, but for Kyle Shanahan, just because of how much is missing on the 49ers offense and the Rams offense, that the Niners still have Brandon Ayuk, right? That's kind of the wild card in all of this is the Rams are missing everybody on their offense. The Niners are missing mostly everybody on their offense. But Brandon Ayuk does exist, and he is going to be the difference maker between these two offenses on Sunday. So is this almost a must-win, in your opinion, for Kyle Shanahan because of the situation of all the injuries? And it's almost hey, we're missing most of our pieces. I can still out-coach you when it comes to offense, and I know Ayuk throws a wrench on that. But is it a must-win for almost the ego of Kyle Shanahan?
I don't think it's a must-win, but I think a lot of people want to see Kyle Shanahan adapt his game plan to different people, right? Like it always feels like it seems like if everybody's healthy, it's either Christian McCaffrey or Debo that the game plan is centered around. I think a lot of people want to see him adapt. They want to see him do that, right? The other thing is there is a lot of pressure on Kyle in this game, and here's why. If the 49ers win, then they'll just say, oh, well, they beat a depleted Rams team. If the 49ers lose, they'll say, oh, my God, he wasn't able to do enough, and then the questions start with him and Brock Purdy. But if Sean McVay loses this game, I don't think anybody blames him. And I don't think anybody will say anything crazy about him. I think they'll just chalk it up to, the loss of everybody on both sides of the ball. And the fact that he's won a Super Bowl has probably brought him a lot of grace when it comes to all of those things, So I wouldn't say it's a must win. It's a, what do we call it on this podcast? It's a way cooler if you win game than it is a must win game. But I think a lot of people are 2 people right now for the 49ers are going to be heavily screwed. Well, 3 people if you count 49ers fans. Obviously Brandon Ayuk, because this is your time as a wide receiver 1, and you understand they're going to roll coverages your way and everything that we went through in the offseason. Okay, can you show us you be that player? But I think it's about Kyle and Brock. It's like, Kyle, can you scheme things up when you don't have everybody? Can you find a way to get everybody involved? And then obviously everybody's waiting to jump on Brock to see if he can perform without the Avengers, which, it's hilarious to me that people just think that every quarterback doesn't need anybody, when just last year, early in the season, we were crying for Patrick Mahomes and trying to get him weapons. And it's just like, you can't have it both ways, man. Peyton Manning wasn't throwing the mailman. When you gave Tom Brady Randy Moss, they ran up the league. Everybody needs somebody, but it's just Brock's held to this crazy standard of like, he doesn't need anybody. I mean, he needs everybody. And if he doesn't do something in this game or doesn't walk away impressing people, then it's doom and gloom. It's strange to me.
Yeah, I don't think it's a must-win necessarily for the 49ers. It's more of a Shanahan McVay. I would argue it's more of a must-win for the Rams, obviously. Sitting at 0-2, could fall to 0-3, and then you look at their next 2 games before the bye week. It's a 10 a.m. at Chicago game, and the Chicago defense has looked really good, despite how bad that Bears offense has looked. And then they got the Packers back in Los Angeles week 5. So, like, they don't win this game, there could be a potential 0-5 at the bye week for the Rams. And one of my hot takes going into the season was the Rams are going to win the NFC West. I didn't say it anywhere publicly, but now that, we're seeing how things are laying out, it doesn't look very good for the Rams, right?
You could have just not said it.
I didn't say it. I didn't say it before the season, and I now saying it doesn't count, so it just doesn't exist. The internet, people forget things all the time, Jason. No, they don't.
No, they don't. People never. People don't forget from Superbad. People don't forget.
So, so it's more so, the battle between Shanahan, McVay, the personal battle that I say it's a must win. But you mentioned Brock Purdy, and that's my other kind of ridiculous. This isn't even this is a ridiculous question, Jason. I think I know the answer to it, but we're podcasters. We got to create content. So let's throw a silly question out there. And it is about Brock Purdy. The Rams haven't been very good against the run either this season. Haven't been good running the ball, haven't been good against the run. The Niners obviously have Jordan Mason, who's running the ball really well. Have you seen J.K. Dobbins' numbers, by the way? Completely unrelated. Jordan Mason is number 2 behind J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins is averaging 9.9 yards per carry.
Yeah,
That's insane.
And also it's with a few big runs as well too. Not taking
2
anything away
games.
from it. It's just there's regression to the mean coming. I would
I
still start
like
J.K. Dobbins every single time.
Early season stats are funny because you could see a guy averaging 9.9 yards per carry leading the league. You don't see that much because averages exist. But Jason, I just told you the Niners like to run with Jordan Mason. It's against a very bad run defense. But the silly question time, Jason Aponte. You have a $250 million question in Brock Purdy. And I know you just said you hate it when we do this, but I'm going to do it because I thought of the question before the podcast, Jason. I beat you to the punch. You have a $250 million question in Brock Purdy coming up here. You have a game where the weapons are not plentiful, right? It's only Brandon Ayuk in the passing game.
Mm-hmm.
Do you maybe
whoa. Don't disrespect Chris Conley, pal.
Oh, Chris Conley. Well, Juwan Jennings too. Jacob Cowing, maybe Jacob
Jake Tonges. Big Jake Tonges game.
Just listing all the targets the Niners have. Do you maybe here? I'll change the question so it's a yes or no. Do you Jason Aponte want to see Kyle Shanahan maybe lean on Brock Purdy a little more on Sunday, knowing there's less targets, so we have a little bit more of information on Brock Purdy going into the offseason?
No.
No.
Here's why. Brock Purdy dropping back 30, 45 times is not the way that you're going to win this game.
Yes.
And you're not putting your players in the right spot. Brock Purdy could throw for 345 yards in this game, and it would either be that he just had the game of his life throwing the football to almost nobody and blew out the Rams, or the 49ers lost because of just horrible game planning and putting him in a bad spot. If Brock Purdy goes out there and throws for 225 yards and 1 touchdown, and the 49ers run the football, and the defensive line shows up, and the defense chokes them out, that's all I need to see. That's really all I need to see. It's hilarious to me that people believe that you need to see 45 attempts from Brock Purdy when that's not what this game calls for. You're not in a track meet. Why would you do that? You are getting a glimpse of possibly what it'll look like with Brock and Ayuk as the only 2, right? Because there is a world where maybe Deebo Samuel's not here. Maybe George Kittle's not here. Maybe Christian McCaffrey isn't that same guy. But no, I don't. And I don't want to see that. Okay. I want to see run the football. I want to see play action. I want to see you taking care of the football, all of those things. And I don't think the path to victory in this game is having Brock Purdy drop back 35, 40 times to prove something to somebody. And tinfoil hat, this is the perfect game for Kyle Shanahan to limit his throws and have him in a way just kind of manage the game, as much as that's like a down, whatever, people hate it. So when they go to the negotiating table, they could say, well, in the games that you're out 225 yards, it was okay. It was all right. So I think it's a little bit of all that.
Yeah, and it's kind of this ridiculous notion because people want to see Purdy do more, but it's just, I don't know. It's never been an offense that's been about the quarterback doing more. It's more about a quarterback not making mistakes. And the peak version of what we've seen this offense in is Matt Ryan. And that was, he was a special talent. And that's not to say Brock Purdy isn't a special talent, but it's definitely something to be said, all the weapons and targets around him. And yes, personally, would I like to see maybe Purdy throw a little more on Sunday just to kind of see what he is? Yeah, I think as a fan aspect, but Niners aren't going to do that. I think I more want to see, and I know he got 28 carries in week 1. I more want to see Jordan Mason like bell cow in it, like 30 touches on Sunday, right? Just running through the Rams best he can. I think that would be more exciting because you got to think of it on the other side of the ball as well. As if the Niners maintain a run game, they're gonna have plenty of time of possession, right? They're gonna win the time of possession battle, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it may be. And if the Niners can hold the ball, that's less time for the Rams offense with their lack of weapons to have it as well. So, Jason, I asked the question almost tongue in cheek because, it's a talking point. I don't even believe my own question. I think this is a game where you want Jordan Mason to get as many touches as he can. I think we talked about it a little bit too on Monday with the loss to the Vikings is maybe Jordan Mason didn't touch the ball enough. And that's kind of a crazy point because 20 carries is a lot, especially in 2024.
Could have had 5 more.
What was that? Could have had 5 more. Yeah, exactly. Could have had 5 more. And it's because these teams are running so much cover 2 that we got to ban so the Niners can run the ball less. I think if we're going to help offenses, we just got to get rid of defense. Like no defense on the field ever. I think that's the best solution.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's literally where I was going with this next. Because through 2 weeks, coverage variability, the Los Angeles Rams are 5th least in changing up their coverages. Mm-hmm. Their too high rate is 36%, which is really low. Now, the top defenses, Kansas City, Buffalo, Minnesota, their variability is up at the top, 0.007, 0.008, Minnesota 0.10, but their too high rate is 65%, 69, which is a nice number, 75%. This is your chance here in this game for you to, when Kyle Shanahan was talking in the press conference and they asked him about play action, and he said, yeah, it's about what the fronts we're seeing, everything that we're seeing, right? And I think play action didn't behoove the 49ers in that Minnesota game because of the way that Brian Flores was disguising all his coverages. Yes. You see one thing, you go to your play action, you turn your back, you look at and you see something completely different. If you already kind of predetermined where you're going with the football or where it should go because of what you just saw, you can get yourself into a little bit of trouble. I don't think the 49ers are going to have that issue this week against the Rams based on they know they're always playing what they play. And he talked about, Raheem Morris isn't there, but it's essentially the same defense. Yeah. And then you talk about the too high looks. I think this is exactly the game where the 49ers impose their will running the football and get back to a little bit more play action. And Brock is able to, move the ball downfield that way. Doesn't have to be straight dropbacks. I think you can oversimplify this game and take it back to run the football, control the clock, watch the football, and go back to play action. I think this is the week that you see it.
Yeah, and I don't think you need to give Kyle Shanahan much of an excuse to run the ball. And you mentioned the cover 2 issue. You see 2 safeties, you're going to run the ball, right? You're going to take advantage of the light box. And then also I mentioned the Rams run defense has been very poor this. I mean, they got torched. I mean, their defense was poor last week. They got torched by Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison, but James Conner had an 120-yard game. He had a lot of success on the ground. I think Jahmyr Gibbs had 96 in week 1. The Lions were able to run the ball pretty well against the Rams back then. So I really, as much as I'd like to see Purdy try and throw the ball a little bit just to kind of see what you have in him, don't do that. Run the ball with Jordan Mason.
Yes, please.
Kyle, you don't need that reason to do so. But it's just Jordan Mason's been so fun to watch, and it's really getting to a point through 2 weeks, and we're going to get a few more weeks to see it with Mason, is how do you want to split carries with him and Christian McCaffrey? Because you cannot go back to last year where I believe it was Elijah Mitchell had like 87 carries, and he was the second most carries out of the backfield for the 49ers behind McCaffrey. I think you got to find a spot in between because Mason has just been so good running the ball. And it's not even like I know we want to use the change of pace term because McCaffrey, you think of him out of the backfield catching the ball. McCaffrey's a pretty physical runner himself. But Jordan Mason's been very successful outside of the tackles. According to PFF, 30 carries, 180 yards outside of the tackles this season so far. So he's been very successful outside the tackles. So it's not necessarily a change of pace. It's just maybe just a more physical runner in Jordan Mason. So I want to see a big game from Mason on Sunday. I don't even know if I really made a point there. I'm just excited to see Jordan Mason play football on Sunday.
No, this is a big spot for him. I think again, you simplify the game, the game plan, especially, with Kittle. I think, as much as you love his in the pass game, I think you're going to lose him in the run game a little bit. Obviously Sauber's going to have to take that over and be like that extra lineman. So it's going to be interesting to see how that happens. But I think, again, I don't want to see straight dropbacks. I want to see, you get back to, I'm not talking about like 8 pass game against the Green Bay Packers where you ran the football like that entire time, right? Like, I'm not talking about that. I think you trust Brock a lot more than that. So you can throw it 20, 25 times. You don't really have to, if you're controlling the clock, if you're getting off the field on defense, I think we're talking about running the football, but I really, really, really am looking at this 49ers defense and this defensive line in particular. Stop these drives, knock the ball out. I need this defensive line to be resemble some sort of pass rush consistently and make critical plays at big times to either stop a drive or just choke the life out of this team. So run the football and sack the quarterback. It seems to be like this is it, or put pressure. Like that's it. That's the way you're gonna win this game.
Yeah.
You don't have to do too much regardless of who you're missing. This isn't me dismissing the Rams, because obviously any given Sunday just reared its ugly head on Sunday. But this is a game that you have to smash them in the mouth, and you have to be able to control the clock, and your defense has to be able to get off the field on third downs, because Stafford is so adept at making some of those throws that just make your mind blow.
Yeah, and you mentioned the defense. Let's talk about it just for a second here, because there are a couple injuries that popped up. Charvarius Ward did not practice Thursday, limited practice Friday. He's questionable with a hamstring and knee. Nick Bosa, he's got a rib injury, limited practice today and Thursday. He's questionable as well. Kind of want to start with the Charvarius Ward injury. They made it seem like it's nothing too serious, and he's limited practice on Friday. Do you almost, Jason, do you trust the depth of the secondary to maybe give Charvarius Ward a week against I'm going to say limited, I don't want to say depleted Rams receiver room, because DeMarcus Robinson, you mentioned he's already pretty talented. But do you trust the Niners secondary with the depth and maybe give Charvarius Ward a week off against this Rams offense?
I think you could, but I think they won't. And if you listen to Sorensen talk about like we're just being fine with it, like it's just the question becomes, if Ward doesn't play, then who is it? And I don't think it's Renardo Green. I think it's Rock Ya-Sin. And Rock Ya-Sin has time in this league, but then it really means Rock Ya-Sin, Yadam, and Lenore.
Oh, yeah.
And while you might get by with that, I don't feel as confident either way. So I don't. So I guess the answer is no. I don't think they can.
I don't think there's a tease in him not playing. I think you mentioned Sorensen mentioned that it was just more of a cautionary thing. I think he's going to play.
Yes.
But boy, oh boy, if there's a week to rest him, it would be this one. It wouldn't be the week
against. It wouldn't be the week against the Patriots, and
yeah, I literally was about to say,
and their vaunted receiving core.
Yeah, that I was literally gonna say I was like, who do they play? Oh, they play the Patriots. Maybe next week is better. I don't think he misses, but if any week, I guess 2 week stretch, it would be this one, the Rams without Kupp and Nakua, and next week against the Patriots and their receiving core.
The Patriots receiving core. They're so bad that they still told Juju Smith-Schuster, we don't need your services. That's crazy.
Is Kendrick Bourne still hurt, correct? He's not.
Yes.
So they're just completely okay. Well, that's more for the Patriot preview. Jason, you mentioned the pass rush, and this depleted Rams offensive line. Obviously, a lot of things depleted. I put my things, one of my things I learned about the Niners and the Vikings game is I'm getting a little concerned about the pass rush. I don't know if I'm fully concerned. I think I said on the scale of 1 to 10, I'm at a 3, but I would have liked to see a little more against the Vikings. I know they had 3 sacks of Darnold, but I don't want to overstate one game, but with the amount of injuries on the Rams offensive line, if the Niners defensive line doesn't feel like what it should be in this game, are we taking the panic button out Monday, even with a win, if it doesn't feel like the pass rush is getting there?
I'm way more concerned than you are.
Okay.
I literally wrote an article about it that was published today on Niners Nation about where they rank in the league right now. 13th in both pass rush and run defense grades, 26.6% pressure rate. Nick Bosa has a 90 grade PFF. That's great. 17.2% pass rush, 23 total pressures and 5 sacks on close to 64 pass rushing snaps so far. Leonard Floyd was out of the game completely. Gross Models had 3 pressures. That's really good. 1 quarterback hit, 2 hurries. That was really good. That's a sight to see. Maybe that'll help. Javon Hargrave. I don't count the pocket. I value the player. I thought we were getting that player from Philadelphia. I don't care how much it costs. It's not my money. But Javon Hargrave, we talked all week about Ed Graham, Garrett Bradbury, how bad they were, and he has the one pressure for the what was it called, the intentional grounding on Sam Darnold. Malik Collins, one pressure. I'm concerned. I'm very concerned. And I think, again, this is why I keep talking about defense and I keep talking about pass rush. If there was ever a game for the pass rush to finally stomp out some drives, create some turnovers, get off the field on third down, it's got to be this one, man. And it's less Bosa than anything because Bosa is who he is. I can kind of set my watch to him. That pass rush win rate thing, it fluctuates. That's fine. He's still that guy. But Leonard Floyd, Malik Collins, Javon Hargrave, Gross Models is going to do fine, I think, if they keep adding him. But I just think the one thing that I kept taking away when I was watching the All-22 is why on earth is Sorensen using Floyd on stunts when Floyd and Bosa are the same? Speed, bend, beat the guy in front of you, and get after the quarterback. You're kind of just putting him in a spot where he can't succeed. So yeah, I want to see the pass rush show up. I'm far more concerned. I'll take it to a 6. If you're on a 3, I'm on a 6 right now with the pass rush because everybody for the most part is healthy. Everyone. And is this Nick Sorensen finding his footing? Maybe. We had D'Amico Ryans and a lot of those guys struggle early on. I'm old enough to remember when everyone wanted to fire Robert Saleh. I'm old enough to remember when everyone wanted to fire D'Amico Ryans after a half. But at the same time, man, I have hesitance with how they're getting their pressure and the rate that they're getting it at. So yeah, I'm at a 6. If you're at a 3, I'm at a 6.
I don't like to be at a 6 2 weeks into the season, but it's definitely concerning just because my biggest concern is it's a new philosophy, right? And we've talked about it plenty of times. They're more top heavy than usual. Gross Matos had the 3 pressures, but it's just when you have bookends of Nick Bosa and Leonard Floyd and 2 guys who have 10 sacks every year they play, and then you have Von Hargrave, and we're here talking about lack of pressures through 2 weeks, absolutely is a concern, and I need to see something against this Rams offensive line. And so I might break my own rule, Jason. If the Niners pass rush isn't there on Sunday, I might be up there to 6 with you, and you might be even higher than that at that point because it's just it's not a good situation. You want to see the pass rush hit. That's what this Niners defense has prided itself on for the past 5-6 years now. They need something, and this is the perfect game for it.
And it's funny because I applauded the 49ers all offseason for not drafting a defensive lineman, for prioritizing secondary. And I think that there is a balance, and I like that. But I think they have more than enough on the defensive line right now to at least apply more pressure. Now, does this mean like there's a midseason trade a la Chase Young, whatever it is? Okay, fine. I think that everyone was in a rush to flush Eric Armstead's contract out and get all the money out. And then when you look at the committee that you're looking to replace him with, early returns have not been good. So I think there was no 1-for-1 replacement with Eric Armstead with how impactful he is in the run game and at times, pass rushing. But the committee right now has got to step up, and maybe that is Gross Models now being back in the fold. But so far, especially in a game that it was right there in front of you for you to do it. I understand Minnesota did a lot of stuff in their quick game. Minnesota, had a very good game plan with getting the football out. I think that's smart, but yeah, there's got to be more. There just has to be more.
Jason, Leonard Floyd, it's a revenge game for him, the former
Yes.
Ram. There is a revenge game that's getting some attention, but it will not play out on Sunday.
Ahkello Witherspoon?
Not Ahkello Witherspoon, a great Niner. But first time we've had the chance to say it, Niners didn't get to play the Raiders last season. It's the return of Jimmy Garoppolo.
Hey, handsome.
And Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't know if you heard, Jason. He was on the Niners for a year or two, couple years. A lot of time mentioned and talking about Jimmy Garoppolo on this podcast. He's made a little bit of news, maybe not so much. The idea of him giving some plays or something to McVay, even though McVay kind of is running the same offensive system down in Los Angeles as they do up in San Francisco. Almost like the Shanahan and McVay know each other pretty well, that Jimmy Garoppolo wouldn't change anything.
He's the last key.
We don't need to go through the whom's revenge game it is. Let's just do a special one because it is the first time Jimmy Garoppolo is playing against the San Francisco 49ers, and reminisce a little bit.
Yeah.
Favorite Jimmy Garoppolo moment, Jason Aponte?
Hell yeah. All right. First of all, the biggest sign of maturity as we, go through life and we get older is when you have a relationship with someone, you don't slam your ex to anybody. I think it's a sign of maturity to say that no matter what happens, I have nothing bad to say about my ex.
Yes.
I have plenty of good things to say about Jimmy Garoppolo because he's given me so many great moments. I think it's funny because we do the thing where, we have those Jimmy moments where he throws the football backwards or he steps on out of bounds before he throws it.
Throws.
The infamous, what is it, pick 8, whatever it is, like against Denver. But everybody goes to the New Orleans game. And that was the game that I remember in 2019 kind of circling, like if the 49ers can go there and beat the Saints, then I really start to feel like, okay, we can do anything now. And you go into New Orleans and you go in there, you win a shootout. But my favorite Jimmy moment has to be the Rams game in week 17 to make the playoffs. I mean, that last drive is just, think about how that game started. The 49ers are down 17-0, in a gotta have it game where they're trying to make the playoffs. That game kicked off a run that is so special to me and, this podcast and a lot of 49ers fans as well, too, because after that game, you go in and you face I think it was the Packers first. No, you face you beat the Cowboys.
Yeah,
I
was trying to remember who they played in that first round.
Yeah, you beat the Cowboys in Dallas. Suck it, Dallas, you're terrible. You go into Green Bay, you score no points on offense. Or no touchdowns on offense, and you beat Green Bay off of the block punt. Those games I'll always remember, and it starts with that week 17 game because that last drive was so like, let your nuts hang, Jimmy. It was just like, right. And it's just like nobody expected that type of thing from him. I can still see vividly him throwing that ball to Debo near the sideline and Jalen Ramsey's arm. And it's just like, it's literally zipped right past his fingertips, man. Give me the Rams game in which you got to have it. That was such a huge Jimmy game, man. And it's good to see you, man. I'll always root for Jimmy Garoppolo, man. I don't care what happened.
I love all that, and you picked a few. The Rams game, obviously, one that entire playoff run, just with the Packer game too. The Packer game, I'll never forget. I got a few personally. Honorable mention. How about his 2023 run? With
he was great. That's the best football I think I've ever seen him play.
We were talking with Brian Greasy, the quarterback whisperer. Garoppolo's looking good, and then unfortunately it falls apart, with the Dolphins game. The other honorable mention, it's got to be the 5-game stretch in 2016, 2017, whatever year it is. To feel like we had a franchise quarterback for the first time. It was electric, but I'm going to go a little out of left field. I think my favorite Jimmy Garoppolo moment is the Dante Pettis throw in Minnesota. In 2018. Because if 2017 was like the tease of like, oh, the Niners got a guy, that play, him avoiding the sack, running left, firing a dot to Dante Pettis in the back corner of the end zone, keeping both feet in. Oh, man, I felt some things. I felt some things that I haven't felt about a 49ers quarterback making a play in a long, 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 long time. And that play, I know it was a loss. I know it was a week 1 game. But just seeing how confidently he moved out of the pocket and how confidently he fired that ball in, I think I said they're going to win 6 Super Bowls with this guy. And obviously – it didn't happen like that. Things kind of fell apart the next week. But the feeling of that Jimmy Garoppolo to Dante Pettis throw, like if I could live my life in one instant feeling, I think I'd want to live the rest of my life feeling how I felt right after Garoppolo hit Pettis on that week 1 throw.
You know what's funny is I think that's sort of the frustration with 49ers fans and Jimmy Garoppolo is because he looked the part, right? He looks like a Disney prince. You know, when you think about that 2017 stretch that you're talking about, the 5 games, you know, I have memories of the mic'd up against the Titans in which he's telling Trent, like, you know, once you slip him, you know, like I'm gonna bang it on you, and he's just like leading the touchdown drive at the end of that game, and then they beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, who would end up in the AFC Championship in that game. And it's just, I remember that feeling in 2017. Like, not only does he look like it, we got a guy, he's playing like it. And I think that's the frustration, I think, with 49ers fans, because we've been looking for that guy since Steve Young. And then you get a guy who, you know, chiseled jaw, you know, says all the right things, is cool, you know what I'm saying? Looks like you want to grab a beer with, and then he's doing what he's doing in those games. And then when that doesn't come to fruition, I think that's deeply rooted in the frustration with 49ers fans with Jimmy Garoppolo. But I don't have bad things to say about Jimmy Garoppolo, because many of the reasons that the 49ers were successful, or many of the moments where they were successful, he was the quarterback.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, everyone can make up whatever reason, then, you know, that you say, like, well, the defense and this and that, and, you know, but 2019, he was out there with rookie Deebo Samuel, Emmanuel Sanders, Raheem Mostert, who was incredible, and George Kittle. And that run was fun, man. It was fun. And again, I'll always root for Jimmy, man. I don't want anything bad, you know, to happen to him or whatever. Obviously, frustration would lead us to say things. And it was this like weird time where a lot of people would rail on him, you know, while he was the starting quarterback. But I don't have anything bad to say about Jimmy, man. I always wish nothing but the best for him.
This podcast started with the legendary should Nick Mullins take Jimmy Garoppolo's starting spot, and here we are, and I don't have anything mean to say about Jimmy Garoppolo. Maybe the meanest thing I have to say is I hope he loses on Sunday. I'm actually, dare I say, Jason, predicting him to lose on Sunday.
Oh,
as we transition
shocking.
to our predictions.
Yeah.
Boop, 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 boop. That's the sound. Don't know why I did it. Hey,
What,
Jason,
the air horn?
you got any underdog picks today? Got any $1,000?
I don't even know. I don't even look. Honestly, I don't even know if they're up, because I was gonna go look for my prop bets and everything with Kittle. Nothing was up because of where he was. Give me a second. Maybe you can.
How about this? If since all the injuries happened last week, we had this issue a little bit as well. Be on the lookout for Jason Aponte's Twitter page. I'm sure he's going to give some underdog picks this weekend at some point.
Oh, we got him.
Oh, you got him? You want it? You give me some underdog picks, Jason Aponte.
Okay, 20.5 rushing attempts for Jordan Mason. Give me the higher on that one. I don't even see how that's possible. But it seems like the only offensive players that are allowed right now are Brandon Ayuk and Jordan Mason. And you know what, Brandon Ayuk? 12.5 over first quarter receiving yards as well, too, on there. We have Kyle Juszczyk. 16.5 receiving yards. We're going higher.
Yeah.
And the one that everybody's been waiting for, because I'll give you 4, over 1.5 field goals made by Mr. Jake Moody.
Mr. Moody. It's part of my prediction. It might be a field goal game, shorten that field. I have the prediction of 2 field goals. Jason,
I do
thank
too.
you for the underdog picks. Promo code Aponte matches your first deposit up to $1,000. Jason, my prediction is 49ers 20, Rams 10. I have a hard time picturing a depleted Rams offense moving the ball against the Niners defense better than a depleted Niners offense moving the ball against the Rams defense. I think the Niners run the ball a lot. They keep it short. It's not going to be a ton of scoring. 2 field goals by Jake Moody get you to 20 to 10 49ers. I don't think it's going to be a particularly fun watch.
27-17 49ers. I have 2 Jake Moody field goals as well, too, but I have them scoring 3 touchdowns. I got 2 for Mason, and I got 1 for Jawan Jennings from Brock Purdy. I think regardless of whatever is missing on this offense, when you match up against this defense and you have the quarterback and you still have, you know, the trust that he has with Jennings and what they're able to do, and they're going to run the hell out of the football, still have a hard time looking at how the 49ers don't get this one done. I do think it's going to be at half a very close game. I think the 49ers eventually sneak away. But again, I have a hard time getting away from the fact that Sean McVay is kind of the perfect coach to weather this storm of injuries and come out with something that's really good. And I'll never discount Matthew Stafford making a few throws. I think you're still going to see that in this game as well, too. But 27-17, how they get to 17, I don't know, but crazier things have happened. I also have a bold prediction. Isaac Guerrero has a big kickoff return in this game that is going to be 40-plus yards return. So put me down for that.
I like special teams bold predictions from Jason Aponte. You don't get them too often, and we got one. So look at that. Yeah. Spin Right Up to Podcast. Never know what's going to happen. Jason, it was fun today. Another Rams week under the in the past. I don't know what analogy I was running with.
I gotta say I'm disappointed.
You're what?
I'm disappointed.
Why are you disappointed?
I think a lot of the juice has been taken out of this matchup because I'm looking through our chat, and while we have our usual suspects, and we appreciate you guys, and that's what makes us do this. It's like, where's Jim Everett? Where's Rod? Where's Marketing Pro? It's just like it would be like going through Detroit week and Don Burr's not here.
Does that mean would that mean Rams fans are concerned?
Does it mean that Rams fans are not even trying to consume any of the content or even troll? Like that takes a lot of the fun out of this, man. Come on.
They know 0-3 is on the horizon, I guess.
Oh well, so you talking spicy. I just wanted to banter a little bit. You know.
They're not here, so I'll be as spicy as I need to be. They got to be Rams fans. Brutal.
Wow.
I'm actually kind of rambly because of Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. So.
Oh yeah. Well, Braden Fisk is gonna have a bad game, buddy, because Jordan Mason's gonna run through his face. You know what the play is over and over that they're gonna call for the 49ers against the Rams?
Run through Braden Fisk.
Run through a motherfucker's face over and over and over.
We'll finish with that right there. That's the Niners offensive strategy. We love it. Jason Aponte, offensive coordinator Jason Aponte, calling the plays from Jose. Jason Aponte, as always.
Let's go Niners. It's okay.
Let's go. Everything's fine. Everything will be fine. Niners will be 2-1 next time we talk. I promise.
Welcome, everybody.
We are live.
My name is Jason Aponte.
I am Andrew Pasquini.
We're working. That's it. We're working over here. That's it. Let's go Niners.
Let's go Niners.